Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of The Rule of Three. And this is for Chaos Central YouTube's channel. And also, we're doing it right now on The Real Review 3000. But that's besides the point. Today, we have, as usual, Danny Graham from Comic Chats. And Stig Kenobi is our special guest today. Stig, how you doing?
Hello there. Doing quite well.
That's good.
Filling in for Sean Stackhouse, right?
Exactly.
Well, I'll do my best to make Sean proud.
Okay. Well, it won't take much. You don't have shoes to fall. Oh, I'm sorry. Sean's watching, so I have to give him some crap.
He's not online.
Huh?
I don't see this online.
It's not online yet. Well, let's see here.
You're on the real review, right?
Yeah, we're doing it on both actually. Let's go and look real quick, guys. Make sure. Should be on there. It says it's live now. And yeah, we are.
Okay.
Just refresh it, I guess. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so okay. But with that said, guys, let's do a quick run around and let's let Danny tell you where you can find him any other time of the week. Danny, go ahead and tell everybody about yourself.
My name is Danny. My channel is Comic Chats. You can find me on YouTube. On Twitter, you can find me at Comic Chats with an S. Every Monday night, I start off the week with the Chaos Central Network doing the Khaotic Conversation. I got a humdinger of a question for tomorrow night. I'm just going to keep trying to develop it, but I've been getting some info from a good friend of mine, Terrence. But I think tomorrow is going to be a very interesting question. Also later on this afternoon, you can find me and Terrence talking at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our show called Equilibrium, where we discuss all kind of things, same content as we do here. Very interesting also. So please support us if you can. And that's it.
Awesome. Okay, go ahead, Stig. Tell everybody where they can find you, what you're about, all that fun stuff.
Just a normal nerd from Norway. And Stig is actually my real name. A lot of people keep asking if it's a Top Gear thing. It isn't. It's my real name. Other than that, I have a tiny channel that I only made because of peer pressure, just so I have something, right?
Yeah.
And you'll usually find me all over the place on channels as a panelist, I guess.
How many subscribers do you have now?
I think I'm at 230 something.
230? I thought you were higher than that, but that's fine. I mean, 230. I'm going to tell you right now, it is it is like the best content shoved into a little ball and with the minimal time, but it's awesome content. And there's some stuff on there, Indiana Jones references, Hulk references, things that you really have to really dive deep into.
Yeah. There's a lot of work behind all of those.
Yes, I know. Yeah. Guys, if you're watching this right now on the Real Review 3000, it's also over on our YouTube channel for Chaos Central, just so you know. I know this is difficult to type all this out. One of the reasons why it's difficult is because we don't have a vanity title. So if you can do us a favor, go over there. That's also down in the description box below. Go over to YouTube, the YouTube channel for Chaos Central, and please subscribe to that so we can get your vanity title and we'll start doing these streams specifically over there. So with that said, guys, it's really simple. We picked out 3 topics each. Those topics go on the wheel of topics, and we each get 3 minutes to talk about those three of these topics. And then we get 3 minutes to argue, discuss, however it turns out. If we disagree, agree, whatever. And today, you guys gave me some great topics. And I must say, it was almost like you guys just giving little nudges to each other, like, oh, this, that. Because you guys are both on 2 different sides of a post here, or the fence, I think, on the current topic. So with that said, guys, we will go over and introduce the wheel of topics. And we're going to spin to see what the first topic is. And Stig, since you are our guest here today, you are going to start this off. And the first question today, could this crisis help boutique theaters in their ability to compete against the big movie theaters going forward? Now, boutique,
What's a boutique theater?
Boutique theater is like the older theaters that have only 2 screens here in the United States. I'm not sure about where you're at, Steve. I don't know what the biggest theater you have there, but the old ones that used to be in every corner square in the small towns and stuff, there's a lot of them out there that have just 2 screens to them, but they do things like these big horror fests, and they'll like show the original trilogy Star Wars over a weekend or in one day. They do like film festival stuff for people to come by. So they're kind of a niche group that have to come up with unique ways to show older movies, and occasionally they'll show 1 or 2 new movies like on weekends.
And this is like a small area for only like a 50 viewers or something.
What was like I mean, how big is your town?
With the surrounding area, I think 25,000.
Okay, maybe a little smaller than that in some places, but around that size. The theaters here in the United States for years would be max 6 screens, but for years in our center of our towns, they'd have like 2 screens. So I'm talking about really small, not these megaplexes you hear about with 20, 30 screens.
Okay.
All right. 3 minutes on the board. You don't have to use all of it. You can say what you got to say about it, and that's fine. So here you go. Do you need me to say it one more time?
Yeah.
Okay. So could this crisis help boutique theaters in their ability to compete against the big movie theaters going forward? 3 minutes, and here we go.
Maybe for a very, very short period of time, I think. I'd say it's just an alternative for movie lovers right now during the crisis. And like you said, it's kind of like a niche thing to begin with. And it's going to stay that way. But it's just, I don't know, it's just an alternative to Netflix and stuff, isn't it? If you feel like you just have to go somewhere, it's probably safer to do it like that instead of going to a big crowded cinema. I don't know. I guess it's for people who has a special interest in it, that really love cinema, which is probably not that many, right? That only watches movies at cinema. Yeah, I'd say maybe they'll get a little lift for a few months, maybe, and then it'll be back to normal.
Okay. I think basically after this is all said and done, it'll go back to the way it used to be. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, cool. Great. All right, Danny, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
3 minutes on the board. Do you need the question again?
I don't.
Nope. Okay, here you go. 3 minutes on the board. Go ahead.
I believe if this crisis continues, I think the crisis has already sped up the movie makers about going to streaming services, going straight from movie to streaming. As soon as they figure out a price point, I think that's going to happen. If it does, then these boutique theaters are going to have to step up their advertising and grab that attention of the person that still wants the movie going experience. So I mean, they probably have to remodel. I've talked to several other YouTubers that said if they go to theaters, they want it to be more comfortable, like recliner seats, better food selection, that kind of stuff, make it a big experience. Because I am the one that wanting to go straight to streaming because I want the comfort of my home. I want to be able to watch as many times as I want. I want, if I go to use the bathroom, I can pause it. So I'm for the streaming, but the boutiques, they're gonna have like Stig said, it's gonna be a niche. And I think if they advertise it right and make it for big events, big parties, but they gotta really put some money into it. They just can't let it be like it is now, plain Jane. You gotta make it so when you take your date or your wife or your family, it's gonna be an experience, something you can be like, wow. They're gonna have to put in the IMAX or something. They're gonna have to put in a sensational sound system. Maybe we have to increase those 2 screens. They got to make it special. If they don't make it special, then they're going to die out. One thing, as long as this social distancing is going on, I think this. Well, I don't want to get into that now, but I definitely think they get an opportunity if this crisis, the longer it goes, the better chance they have whenever we get through this, because then they can sit down and be strategizing about what they need to do. I think whenever the economy bounces back and people get back to normalcy, and certain movies going to come out, I would definitely advertise it big for any DC or Marvel releases. The upcoming anticipation of Avatar 2, those type of movies, those big movies that's going to just be like the blockbuster of the summer, that I would pull out all the stops that I could if I was a boutique theater and just say, look, come to my theater, you're going to get that movie experience, you're going to get that sounds. So they're going to have to put some money, like I said, into the system for as making it sound as best they can get it and making the screen as big as they can get it. But if they do those two things, I think that they can successfully come out on the other end. But they have to advertise, and they got to find that niche crowd. You got to play to those people. Like, look, if you come here, you're going to have a good time, good meal, be relaxed. As long as they're still on those lines, I'd pay $15, $18 for that experience if it's something I really want to see.
Okay. All right, my 3 minutes I'll put up there right now. And basically, I think Stig's mostly correct. You're right, Danny. Also, most of the ones I've been to, if I'm specifically talking about 2-screen theaters, or there's one downtown here in Kansas City that's called Alamo Drafthouse, and they do tons of major picture releases, but they also do a lot of these little, hey, come do the sing along with Sound of Music, come do the audience participation with Animal House. They do a lot of those things, and these smaller ones, these 2-screen theaters and stuff, do that too. And the more stuff I do like that, I actually like going to those because they're kind of encouraging participation from the people, trying to keep them engaged in what they're watching. And that's a big thing, I think, in a lot of the new theaters. But I mean, I think that, yeah, they got to make sure it's the right type of comfort level. If they have food, make it so they can bring it in or bring it to you. Alcohols, all that stuff. A lot of these big movie chains are doing that too, though. So that's not really going to be where they're going to make their money. They've got to make it so there's a definite thing that draws you in there. I don't know. Find a way to make the movie profitable for them, but cheaper than what they can get someplace else. Something that brings them in. I mean, I went to go see the first 2 of the new Star Wars trilogy at a boutique theater, and actually they made it a much better experience overall because of contest for costume, for cosplay, trivia beforehand where they were giving out prizes. It wasn't just for new Star Wars stuff, it was like old Star Wars trivia, all that stuff. So it engaged a lot of people who liked the new, who liked the old. I liked that about it. When I went to go see Rise of Skywalker, it was in a giant box theater, 40 plus screens. I can't remember how many they have, but I felt the difference from the engaging side of it. It was like very, very different. But I'm with Stig on this. I think that yes, and at the beginning for the first few months, maybe a year, they will have a little bit of clout against the big theaters. But I don't think that the big theaters are done by any means. I think that they're going to find a way, either by cutting prices, giving out, a free popcorn or a free drink with, purchase of popcorn. They're going to figure out the way to get people in the doors. That's what they've done for years, and they're not big because they're stupid on their business decisions. So, that's what I think. So, we'll put 3 minutes on the board. We can discuss this a little more. Let me let this one go down. But
I disagree with what you and Stig saying a little bit. I think if I go to the big theater, and let's say here where I live at, it's $10.50. But if I can go to the boutique theater and pay $15, but I'm in a recliner.
Okay.
I'm getting a better selection of food.
Yeah.
The screen is bigger. It's IMAX.
See, the boutique theaters here, some of them. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would pay for that.
Yeah.
I don't. The big theater can't make everything IMAX because if they got these 20, 30 screens, I mean, it's just too. They're going to have to recoup that money some kind of way. So I think the two screen, just like I give you, for instance, I got a 60-man department where I'm at, roughly 60-man department. The smaller town got like a 20-man department, but they got a lot more high-tech equipment and a lot more stuff than we do because it's more expensive to pay for something that's 60 men versus the 20 man. So the same thing is going to apply in this. It's much easier to do something for 2 screens versus doing something for 20 screens. So I think if they have the money to do the upgrades and make stuff fancier, they will have a better advantage than the big multi-screens, in my opinion.
What do you think, Stig?
Well, if the boutique theaters have better food and all that, more comfort, then certainly that's a few points in their favor. I wasn't aware of the food stuff though, because we don't have that stuff over here.
Oh, wow.
Well, we do have food, but we don't have.
We have like popcorn, candy, nachos. Basically, what I have at my theater. I'm not sure about.
Yeah, that stuff we have, but I thought maybe you meant burgers or something.
No, but actually, there's a place in Atlanta that has that. I mean, they got like buffalo wings, burgers, all kind of stuff.
So some of these, I consider this Alamo Draft House a boutique theater, even though it's got like 10 plus screens, because it's not as mainstream, and they have a big bar down in the lower level. It's in an old building. It's very nice, and it's kind of nostalgic, and they've got burgers, they've got alcohol, they got all this crazy stuff. But these smaller screen places are doing that too, for the very reason that Danny said, is that it does bring people in. But I kind of agree in a way with Stig because of what you said, Danny. 2 screens only brings in so many people. So it's a very fine line between how much you can put towards the food quality and all that. It's a very careful balance. So I think that's one of the things people need to think about. But we'll see, because we're not there yet. So, all right. Second question we're going to talk about today. After reading the Rise of Skywalker novel, why do you think Lucasfilm didn't take more time to develop a better movie? After reading the novel for Rise of Skywalker, why do you think Lucasfilm didn't take more time to develop a better movie? And I will remove that. You guys got the question?
I got it. I'll go first unless Steve read it.
Steve, have you had any? No, but
I know enough about it though too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I apologize, and I thought maybe you didn't. So if you want to go first, that's fine.
No, I went first last time, so
okay.
Danny, 3 minutes on the board. Here you go.
I bought the book yesterday, and right now I'm in chapter 5. The book is hands down, leaps and bounds better than the movie. It explains to you so much more. It starts off differently. And the big question I have in the back of my mind is, why didn't they put this book on film? Because it explains to you the teachings that Leia did for Rey. It explains to you that Rey is trying to make contact with the Jedi ghosts. It explains to you Palpatine and the contingencies that he put in place since way back when. It's just so much better. It explains to you why Kylo Ren rebuilt his helmet, because everybody's like, well, why did he destroy it? It tells you why he has to have the helmet. I can't wait to get to the whole book, so I have a whole new understanding. I want to hurry up and read this book so I can go back and watch it again, because then when I see things, that it might make sense compared to the last time when I was like, well, why is this? Why is that? So I can't think of the author's name. Is Ray something, female author. She done outstanding. She did her homework. It references different books. It references different things. It's very enlightening. it kind of like when like the sun burning off fog, kind of. You know that the road is there, but you can't see it because of the fog. Well, when the sun burns off the fog, everything clears up. That's how this book is. It clears up the fog. So I definitely am a supporter of the book. I can't wait to finish reading it, and it is an awesome book. If you get a chance to get it, it's $20 in Walmart. I encourage you to go get it. I don't know if it's going to make you think the movie's any better, but at least if you watch it again, you'll have a better understanding, and you know why stuff is done this way. At least I'm hoping. But a friend of mine, Robert Storm, told me about the book. I went and got it yesterday, and I tell you, it's hard to put down. So if you get a chance, I don't know why Lucasfilm did not get this lady to have more input with J.J. Abrams. I don't understand why if he read the book, he should be ashamed of himself, or he should feel like a total idiot because the book is that much more superior than the movie.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that it?
That's it. That's
okay. All right. Well, Stig, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Danny completely. Sorry about that.
No, it's perfectly fine. Go ahead. What do you guys say?
The author did not do any kind of research. He didn't even watch the original trilogy, because she explains in the book that Palpatine his spirit leaves the body as he's falling down the shaft, and he's dead before the body hits the thing. In the movie, you see him scream and use force lightning all the way down until impact. Corpses can't scream and use the force. And she was tweeting the other week, she didn't even know who Ahsoka was. That's bad. And she had the unfortunate job to try and explain away the mess that episode 9 was. And there's only so much she can do. And just a year or two ago, Disney released a canon novel where Leia declines any Jedi training from Luke. She never had training by Luke. She never swung a lightsaber. She never did anything. Then the movie comes out and the book, and all of a sudden she has had training.
Mm-hmm.
That's a gigantic plot hole, because that previous book is just as canon as the movies. Disney made this clear in 2015 that every story product would be canon on equal terms as the movies. So they have a massive contradiction there for anyone who invested in the previous book. And it's very, very clear that Disney did not plan this trilogy at all. They let the point was to give 3 directors a job to make 3 Star Wars movies, but they never planned it. First one is basically a remake of A New Hope. Then comes Rian Johnson, contradicts the whole thing. I mean, even Finn has learned how to pilot ships while in a coma. He couldn't pilot ships in episode 7. That was a plot point, was why he saved Poe. He needed a pilot. Then comes episode 8. He's been in a coma. All of a sudden, he can fly. And there's miles and miles of contradictions with the old movies and the new stuff. And if they had just paid attention, they would have avoided 80% of that. Mm-hmm. And this whole problem stems from Star Wars not having a foundation anymore, because Kathleen Kennedy scrapped 40 years of lore. They removed the expanded universe. If you don't have a solid foundation, you can't build on it, which is why Star Wars is completely wobbly now and full of cracks. Sorry, Danny, I disagree with you.
So you don't think the book was better than the movie?
Doesn't matter. They're both shit.
Okay.
Okay, I'll take my 3 minutes and we can discuss this for 3 minutes with all of us. First off, Stig's not wrong. He isn't. I'm gonna basically point this out directly to you why that's the case. The original novels for the original trilogy, the first novel, this one right here, the original production or the original release date for this book was November 12th, 1976, almost 6 months before the movie came out. Everything that's in this is in the movie. It's in the movie. They took stuff out of the book, and didn't put it in the movie, even though a lot of it was shot. They scrapped a lot of different scenes that are in this book that are not in the movie. But it was done 6 months before the movie. So it wasn't like what The Rise of Skywalker was. The Rise of Skywalker was 3 months after the movie. So it was directly designed to fix everything people started bitching about. It was not designed to tell the story. If it was released 6 months beforehand, I would have given it some credence in, okay, they messed up. Now, yes, does Lucasfilm mess up? They do constantly right now. These movies are full of problems, and then what they want to do is Disney's done this for years with their cartoons and their Disney Princess series and Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Everything is designed for merchandising. So when they don't have something explained in the movie, they can sell you the comic book for it, or now they can sell you the novel for it. And this is going to tell you what you need to know that we didn't tell you before. Not because we're good storytellers, but because we now know that you're asking all these questions, but that gives us something to sell to you more. That's what I believe they're doing. Lucasfilm has lost its heart and soul because they lost Lucas. If Lucas were still there in some form, even if it was just call him up on a hotline and say, hey, George, what do you think about this? I wouldn't do that. Okay. All right, great. If that were the case, Lucasfilm would be in a much better place. But Stig's not wrong. They basically had 3 different directors who didn't talk to each other. And then when one of those directors backed out, JJ came back and basically disregarded the second movie and said, I'm just going to take up where I was in the first movie and try to finish it. And he had to throw together a whole bunch of stuff to make that happen. So by the time they got done retconning a lot of it, they missed the point of the whole trilogy. And so it doesn't come across as a trilogy. It comes across as 3 separate movies. Now, the book, from what I've read about it so far, is heads and tails above what the movie is. So I don't disagree with you, Danny, on that.
What the question was, it wasn't talking about this other stuff you and Stig went into.
No, but the thing is that it's directly the point of it. It doesn't hold on, let's start the 3 minutes. It is designed that way by Lucasfilm now.
A novel shouldn't be made. It should be written to explain the movie, only expand on it, which was how it was done for 40 years.
And I agree 1,000% what you're saying. I just said, after reading this novel, my question was, why didn't they take more time to develop a better movie of this novel?
Because the novel wasn't there. The novel wasn't there.
Yeah.
The novel, I guarantee you, the novel was written in the 3 months between the movie and the novel release.
Yeah, it's
to answer the questions.
It's a Band-Aid.
It is
for a bleeding movie,
and that is Lucasfilm and Disney's way of handling things now.
Yeah, they've done the same thing with a few comics lately too.
Yeah, and to Stig's point, Lucasfilm caused this problem on their own because they threw out the EU, which actually had this storyline built in at some point in it.
Yeah, there's actually a picture from the interview with the guy who wrote the script for episode 9, and he's being interviewed while he's writing, and he has one of the Thrawn trilogy books right next to him, and it's the same book that has a hidden old Star Destroyer fleet,
and the clone.
You can just see what he's ripping off because it's next to him on the deck.
And I think to answer your question directly, Danny, the book is better, but they couldn't have done it like that because the book didn't exist until after the movie. I guarantee you this book was not written before this movie was released.
I'm not doubting that. All I'm saying is,
well, how can you make the movie better if...
No, I'm saying, why didn't they use the same, whatever formulas you use or whatever? I'm saying, if they had that much time and the book makes so much sense now that it's written, They could use that same energy or research, whatever, to make the movie better. That was my question.
Well, the book is only as good as it is because they were told what was wrong with the movie. I don't think that the book would have been any better than the movie if it was written beforehand.
Yeah,
If
and
it was, then they would have put it in the movie.
yeah, the only thing they've achieved with this movie and the book is to make episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 completely pointless, because it was never about Anakin being the chosen one anymore. It's about Rey Palpatine being the chosen one. So every Skywalker is now utterly pointless, and that also includes Ben Kenobi, who protected Luke for 20 years when Luke was pointless. It was all about the Palpatine family.
Yeah. I mean, and it's an agree to disagree thing, Danny.
Oh no,
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, and Nindroid puts in there, he said they gave Ray Carson the script before the film came out. That's fine. They gave it to her before the film came out.
No, Anakin is not still the chosen one. George Lucas said Anakin destroyed the Sith, destroyed them, not set them back 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. And I mean, again, that's a agree to disagree thing. And Lucasfilm, again, has created this mess for themselves.
yeah,
And
I'm not. I know. I agree with what y'all saying, and I think Rise of Skywalker movie is a shipwreck. All I'm saying is, after reading what I've read now, I have a better understanding, and I want to go back and see. Does it make a little bit more sense now that I've read? Now that I've got the proper roadmap, I want to see the terrain is easy to traverse, basically.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm like, I have all these the movie books, so I may very well get these too, but I'm not sure if it's going to change my complete idea, the whole overall outlook of this trilogy. But okay, last topic we're going to pick, as far as this goes, we'll pick a couple others just to talk about really quick after this. Do you think drive-ins can take advantage and make a comeback since they can adhere to social distancing better than movie theaters can? Do you think drive-ins can take advantage and make a comeback since they can adhere to social distancing better than movie theaters can? Okay.
That was Danny's question, wasn't it?
Yes, it is. So,
damn good question too.
Well, then, Stig, why don't you take your 3 minutes and we'll let you start with this one. Here we go.
I think it's an excellent suggestion from Danny, really. I've heard a lot of people say they miss drive-in movies because there's something special about it, right? Just going with a friend or a girlfriend and driving up, watching movies like that. And it's a callback to a bygone era, really. And nostalgia is powerful shit. And social distancing is designed for this. You're sitting in your car watching a movie. Nobody's coughing at you, right? You're not touching anyone, except if you're making out with a girlfriend. But yeah, I think that's a superb idea. And if movie companies or whatever can put up a bunch of drive-ins, it shouldn't even take a lot of time to do that. All you need is a parking lot and putting up a screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah, excellent idea. And I'm in Norway, so we never had drive-ins, but I would love to watch a movie at a drive-in because I never had the chance to do that. And if they start doing that here as well, I'd be all for it. And best suggestion to the problem I've heard since the coronavirus started, because this is actually a very viable and a very economic solution, to be sure. And Danny's great suggestion, Danny. I'm all for it.
Thank you, sir.
Over and out.
Okay.
Danny and I agree on a lot of things, but sometimes we don't.
Well, that's the way
That's
things are inherently. You're going to disagree on some things. You're not going to be eye to eye on everything with everyone. So, all right, Danny. Oh, go ahead.
It's when it comes to Danny and I, we either disagree completely or we completely agree. We don't have a middle ground. It seems it's just
pretty much.
Yeah, which is fun.
Yep, it is.
Good. All right, Danny, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Go ahead.
I 1000% agree with Stig. I think this is something that's very viable and could solve a problem. Like he said, it should not be very expensive to do this if movie theaters want to. It depends on how long this crisis lasts. If it's something that's going to be done in a couple months, and of course not, but if it's something that's going to be a long haul, then they're going to have to thinking about whether they're going to have to do this or do streaming. I think they're going to lose money doing the streaming at first, or it's going to be so expensive that some people will be like, I can't take, I don't want to spend that kind of money. So definitely, I thought about this when I was on the stream 2 nights ago, and a friend of mine said his roommate went to the drive-in to watch E.T. and some other movie. And I was like, man, that would be cool if you could watch movies now at the drive-in, and you sit in your separate cars. And I know in the old days they used to have speakers you put in the window, but now they can go right through your radio. So there's zero communication with anybody else, just only the people in your car. You can bring what you want to eat. You don't have to get something from the concession stand. I remember when I went as a little boy, Tuesday nights, it was you pay by the carload. Then any other night you paid per head. So they could use that same formula. And I think it would definitely work. I would go see it. I know when I used to live in California, they had where you had chairs out there, so you could sit in the chairs, kind of like the theater chairs. So it depends on what you want to do. They could space them a certain distance apart that would be in compliance with the spacing, and the family could sit there in the car, or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case may be, and enjoy the movie. I think it's definitely viable. Like I said, I hope this crisis won't last much longer, but I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have a witch or a wizard to tell me what's going on, or a fortune teller, or I don't have someone that does that. So I don't know how long this is going to take, but if this is going to be for the long haul, then I would definitely, if I were in the movie business, I would start talking to my people and say, how can we put these up? Here where I live at, it used to be 2, but now there's none in the state that I'm aware of. But I don't think it'd be that hard to bring one back. So I think it's a very practical solution to a very hard problem. So I got to say on that, bro. And like Stig said, we do either pretty much see eye to eye, or we're on different ends of the spectrum. So, but like I said, very intelligent guy, and I'm glad that I met him.
Awesome.
Likewise, I absolutely enjoy talking to you, even when we disagree. It's all good.
Yes, sir.
All right. My 3 minutes on the board. Let's do this. I don't disagree with either of you, but this is a couple factors here. One, you're not going to be able to do carload right now. They're going to have to know how many people are in the car. And that was the problem with drive-thrus in the first place, or drive-ins in the first place, was that people would shove people in the trunk. People would do this. People would do that to hide people. And that's where they started losing money out. And then they went to just carload. And that kind of saved them for a little bit, but it was the amount of money. Now, on the flip side, if they can figure that out and how to make it profitable for them, which at this point right now, I think the movie industry needs to talk to those places, the drive-ins that are still around, and say, okay, we're going to give you a cut rate on this that's still going to make us more money than we would make if we send it to streaming. And this can start as soon as they lift up a lot of these things, because they're not going to immediately let us go to movie theaters in full force. They're not going to immediately let us go to sporting events in full force. But drive-ins, you guys said it. You're in a car. That car can be 3 feet away from you, next to you, but the windows are up. If they're not up, okay, maybe we're making a little bit of a thing there, but there's enough ways to space things at a drive-in because of the size of the area you're talking about. Plus, they're not stopping majority of us from going outside and exercising, walking our dogs, taking our children out to play. It's just and if you think about it, when you go to a park, people stay some distance away from each other. They'll stay in small little groups of their group, but you're all there together. I think that's a very viable way to start things out. And I think if the movie industry is thinking about this with a clear head, they're already thinking about that right now. Because I'm not certain that even after this is quote unquote past, the fluffy bunny disease is past us, that we're going to immediately open everything up wide open, let everybody just jump in there, and let's all go back to the way things were. I think they're going to do it in the same way that they took things away in small doses. They're going to be like, okay, well, we can open up the restaurants again, but if you have people stay in there, you can only have a total of 20 people in the whole place. Something like that. And you got to space your tables out. And then let's say they start doing maybe some sporting events again. Okay, well, you can have only this many people per row or this many people per seat. One person, then 4 seats down, they can have another person. They're gonna put these rules in just to see if things start escalating again. Drive-ins for the movies are the answer because they will not be held by a lot of these limitations, these requirements. We'll keep talking about this. But yeah, you guys are absolutely right. It's more about the economics, I think. Finding that price line that works for the movie companies and the drive-in. A lot of these, the other thing you have to think about is the movies now are requiring all the theaters to be digital. Are all our drive-in theaters digital too? I think they are now, but there's a lot of things.
I'm pretty sure they are. Cause I remember, like when I was a little boy, they had those big old speakers you had to put on the window and wind the window up so it wouldn't fall. But I think now they get it so
it goes
to a certain frequency and it comes with your radio. So
I've always thought these places need to have like battery charging at each parking point because you turn your car on to listen to the radio, it's killing the battery, and you don't want to necessarily let it run because then you're wasting gas. So I always thought that they should have some sort of a battery charger right there. I guess I don't know. I always thought of stuff like that. But Stig, I mean.
I just saw the dumbest comment I've ever heard in the chat. George Lucas doesn't know anything about canon in regards to Star Wars.
Ninja wrote that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
and Tolkien doesn't know anything about this.
He said everything, not anything.
Doesn't know everything about it.
Yeah. Sorry. Still, yes, he does. When it comes to the old trilogy, he does.
I mean, again, so, and I guess we can go to that really quick here.
I did an episode about canon sucks, so I'll stay out of this.
Canon is a sticky subject, but here's the facts of the matter. If it's my child and I give birth to that child in some way or another, if I'm the father or the mother, in this case, it's one person, George Lucas, he gave birth to this franchise. Anything that came after that is based off of what he decided.
Yeah.
For canon, if he said it was canon.
That's not true.
Well,
canon mainly refers to something like the Bible that's biblical, that can't be changed or rewrote. If George Lucas, when he sold Lucasfilm to Disney, he gave up any kind of canon he had because now they're the owners of it. So if Bob or whoever want to change
that's called disrespect.
No, I'm gonna tell you that's called life, real deal.
That's called disrespect.
As long as you can purchase something, the canon will change.
And well, the whole point of the original 6 movies, and this is according to George Lucas, is Anakin's fall to the dark side, and he was the chosen one, prophesied to destroy the Sith, and the Sith was the imbalance in the Force, their mere presence is the imbalance. It's not a 50-50 scale thing. It's just that they're there like a disease.
Let me ask you this. Okay.
And no, it isn't. I can show you an interview about that.
I hear what you're saying, and I don't have no argument with that. Let's say, for instance, I have a Corvette. I sell it to you, and you put in a damn Firebird engine in it or whatever. It still got the body of the Corvette, and it looks like the Corvette, but it's truly not a Corvette because it got a different car engine in it. So it's really not a Corvette. It may look like
no longer the car that you made.
So it's no longer the canon.
No, because then it's not canon anymore. It's okay. So here's the thing: I can't go sell that as the original thing anymore. I can't.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's what I'm saying right there. They have changed canon.
Yeah, if they had removed the first 6 episodes from canon, then it would be no problem. But the story George told is still canon, and that's Anakin destroying the Sith from the inside out, basically, because he's the Sith apprentice. He turns back to the light, kills the master, and dies. So there's no Sith left. He destroyed it, destroyed the Sith, all of it, and that was the end of the story.
And this is. I agree with Stig and ask Stig. This is coming from a guy who liked The Last Jedi.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I understand the problems. I think the biggest problem that Lucasfilm made for themselves is they didn't give us any context as why they're where they're at with their story. If there had been some sort of context to state something, so a movie like they did with Rogue One that was in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, something in the middle there that said, hey, look, we figured this happened. And so now
you're not getting the picture.
I get the picture of what you're saying. I get the picture of what other people are saying. I'm just saying canon.
You can't hinge everything on canon.
So what you're saying, what you're saying is if I don't know how this would happen, if the Bible were been sold, and then somebody came in and said, instead of Jesus Christ being the savior of everyone, the devil was the savior of everyone, then that's okay.
I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying that's the way it is. I'm saying
that's what we're saying, though. There is a separate line on this that if you're going to accept old canon, which they did, there's where their problem is, and Stig's absolutely right. If you say this is canon, then you have to stay by the terms of what the person who made it said.
Well, you don't. Yeah. Where does it say that at?
Disney has made a complete statement when they threw out the EU that the EU is gone. It is not canon, but anything that is in movie or TV is.
What you saying, Chris, would be the same thing if I sell you a car and I say I want to stay black, but you say no, I want to be red. You now own the car, so you can turn it red if you want to. You can paint it whatever color you want to. That's the same thing.
But not if.
It's the same exact thing.
Except no, it's more like you melt the car down and make a can out of it and give me that and say this is a Corvette.
Because they're saying that the original trilogy and the prequels are canon, and that canon, if you listen to what the person who made those movies says, and just like Stig said, Lucas said it was about the fall of Anakin and then the redemption of Anakin based off of destroying the Sith. Therefore, if you as Disney say that canon is anything in movie or TV or cartoon format, you're automatically accepting what he said.
Okay. Yeah, and episodes 7, 8, and 9 are the last 3 parts of a 9-part story.
And they even use the Skywalker saga.
Yes. I'm not doubting what y'all saying should be true. It should be. They should be most respectful of George Bush's ideas.
It isn't just.
But what I'm saying, if you own something, you bought and paid for it, don't you have the right to change that to whatever you want to change it to?
Okay.
Yes,
you do.
That's what it is doing.
But then they need to change the old trilogy too.
But
I ain't saying that's right. I ain't saying I agree with it. I'm just saying Disney own it now.
Here's the biggest problem. One, you're separating fans against each other. That's not what a company should do. Two, wait. Two, they shouldn't backlash against people who bring the facts up, because by doing what you did that you're causing a big problem.
Okay.
That
They still making money. Kathleen Kennedy Kathleen Kennedy is bad as CEO, whatever her title was, that people saying she lose her job.
Star Wars
her tenure, she still was profitable.
No, Star Wars is
that.
losing money as a whole because Disney released their annual finances, right? And Star Wars is deeply in the red. It's Marvel that's keeping it up. The Star Wars merchandise sales have dropped by over 80% since 2017.
Because Bob Iger made $66 million last year. He's taking the profits.
it doesn't matter. I mean,
No, because Star Wars is bleeding money, and they're having to toss away Star Wars merchandise because nobody's buying them, not even on sale.
And they can't even get. And the big problem here is they can't even get the original trilogy merchandise that they've rebranded to sell. And it's because they have pushed away the fans that made Star Wars what it is. And I'm not saying just their writing has done it. I think a lot of us could have accepted some of the stuff they did, some of it. The problem is they when the Last Jedi came out, they orchestrated a hate campaign against anybody who didn't like it.
Yeah, everyone who didn't like it got labeled a racist because Rose Tico was in it.
And that right there isn't what, and that's a big problem right now with movie companies. It used to be if a movie was bad, a movie company backed away from it and said, okay, we messed up, let's go to the next thing. Now Disney, Sony with the Ghostbusters 2016 and a few other movies out there, they've learned with social media that the workers and stuff like that can go on there and start campaigns to talk crap on people who don't like a movie, and they can kind of equalize their losses or make it sound like this is only not liked because of this or this. And they tried to do it with Charlie's Angels, which again, most of the time why we don't like movies is because they just don't need to be made the way they're made. They're trying to force an agenda. And let's talk about this real quick, because Danny, you had a good question. I want to get to this question. And we're going to get to yours also, Stig, because like I said, this is one that you guys when I was getting the questions from you guys, I was like, okay, I see where we're going with this. We'll start with this. Movies were initially made for the moviegoer to give them a break from reality. Are fans getting too critical about movies not making sense, plot holes, not sticking to canon, that escapism is being thrown out completely? Let's talk about this for just a few minutes.
I totally think it is. I mean,
I don't disagree. I think
I hate going on channels. I went on one channel, I'm not gonna call it, but this guy was arguing because he said Boba Fett had spurs on or something. In one Mandalorian show, the guy had on spurs or didn't have on spurs, or whether or not Boba Fett cape was long or short. I mean, really? Is it that serious in my mind?
Well, I know what you're talking about. They were talking about who the guy was in the scene where they were going after the one lady at the end of the movie, or at the end of the episode, where they showed the guy with the silhouette on the ground. They were trying to figure out if it was Boba Fett or not, and what they were arguing is that really Boba Fett, or is his cape long enough? Does he have spurs on? That's what they were talking about. They weren't arguing about did he have it. They were just saying, is that him or isn't it?
Maybe I misunderstood.
To be fair, though, Boba Fett, if he got out of the Sarlacc, he'd probably change clothes.
Probably.
It would have been corroded away anyway. So
yeah,
that's actually not an argument if he has spurs or not.
And
Yeah,
just to be just so, I mean, I've never seen Boba Fett with a long cape like the rest of Mandalorians. I've always seen his short. Not to say
Yeah,
that he did have a long cape. I don't know, but
that
whatever.
Moff Gideon though,
yeah,
Mhm.
he had a he
Yeah,
was probably the guy.
yeah.
yeah.
Um,
But people just, I think, just like on Endgame, they just pick it apart. Oh, this came. Look, I enjoyed Endgame because for 3 hours I was entertained. I wasn't worrying about my job. I wasn't worrying about crazy bills, none of that stuff. I was there. I was totally engrossed. But now it's like if something don't exactly make sense, or it's not. If you go to A and you skip over B, man, people are like creating channels and just hate because they don't know what B is. I mean, I just don't take it that serious. I mean, maybe I should. I don't know. I have more important stuff to think about because at the end of the day, this shit is fantasy. It ain't real. It's fantasy.
I understand.
So
Steve,
that's my main point.
Well, I agree with Danny because I've seen a lot of people argue, this character used to have yellow shoes, but now they're blue, and then they go plot hole. No, that's not a plot hole. That just means he has different shoes on.
Thank you.
Yeah, but there's something called realism within an unrealistic setting, which is Marvel has its own realism, right? Its own rules, and the Lord of the Rings has it, and Star Wars used to have it. And people who are a huge fans of stuff like that, they pay attention because a geek or a nerd is someone who cares so much that every detail matters, right? Which is why you have people going with perfect cosplay outfits, and the insignia are correct, and people care about this, and it's escapism at its heart, right? It's a different world that you can slip into when the real world kind of sucks, like a vacation.
Yep.
And when that world starts getting tampered with real life shit, like identity politics or whatever you're trying to escape in the first place, it ruins your escapism. It absolutely does. Because if you're trying to get away from politics and stuff like that, and all of a sudden there's a Marvel movie that's full of, Trump is bad references or something, right?
Mhm.
It's not good because it just messes up why you're watching the movie in the first place. People want to be entertained, not lectured.
and that's where I
That's a good
think
point.
the issue is. Yes, it's about escapism, but when you, as a movie maker, as a movie company, interject things that are so blatantly out of character for that escapism, because like Stig said, within the non-reality, there is the reality of that non-reality. So when you go and you change something that's so utterly different from what people are used to in that reality, they start to say, wait a minute, this is not right. This isn't what this used to be. This is what's this that I don't know. Think about it with Back to the Future. If they came out with a fourth Back to the Future, but it didn't have Doc Brown at least somewhere in the movie explaining how time travel worked. It just so happens that some new guy has a time machine, and there's another kid now. It's not Marty McFly. But they call it Back to the Future. Well, people are going to be like, wait a minute. They just found this out. They just know about this. I thought that they tried to cover their tracks as best as possible. That's where the problem comes into play, is when a movie maker decides, I'm going to put something in here that makes no sense within the reality of the non-reality. I think, right, Stig? Is that what you think?
Yeah, it's the very reason why writers spend so much time creating the setting, because the setting is in any fantasy is the most important character. It needs to feel real. It needs to feel like a real world, and Middle Earth is kind of like that. That's a prime example. Remove all the lore and stuff from Middle Earth, Lord of the Rings won't be the same.
Yeah.
And the same with Batman. If you tamper too much with Gotham, right? It won't feel the same. Gotham needs to be Gotham.
I think the best example of all of that is Bond, James Bond. It doesn't matter who the actor playing James Bond is. If James Bond is a guy and he's badass and he gets the ladies and he still has that suave demeanor, he knows how to order a drink and he can still kick the bad guy's ass. Nobody cares about what color he is. Nobody cares about what nationality he is. It's Bond. It's all of the parts still are Bond. If you change,
I'm not sure about their race and nationality.
oh, I want Idris Elba to be the next one.
He needs to be English, and he's a descendant of a Scottish lord, so he should be a white guy.
Well, that's fine. I don't really care one way or another on that per se. I mean, I don't personally, but when you talk about what some of the stuff that was being talked about there a year ago or so about possibly making Bond a female, now we got bigger problems because that's not how it is. And even Barbara Broccoli, who's Albert Broccoli's daughter, who
some characters you can switch the gender. I'll give you one on Doctor Strange. The ancient one, last time I checked in the comic books, was Chinese and a male, but this was a white female, and she pulled it off. So there are some characters that you can race swap and gender swap.
I think they went off the thought that was more androgyny than anything. But
like you said, I think Idris Elba would do James Bond proud, but some people don't think so. So it is what it is.
Well, he's a damn good actor for sure.
Yeah. Then the compendium to that question is Stig's question. Have moviegoers become too sanitized to bad writing, accepting said writing just because it has the right logo? So, Stig, why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, I've seen people defend just about anything just because it's their favorite logo on it, right? But bad writing is bad writing. Doesn't matter what franchise it is. You know, a lot of people love everything Star Trek, but you know the new show is apparently god awful.
I haven't seen it, but I heard it's awful.
Yeah, I haven't seen Picard. I wouldn't know. I haven't seen.
What's
Picard talking about?
Yeah, Picard and Discovery. I think Discovery's on its last season.
Yeah,
now, I saw the first season of Discovery. The first season was all right.
I haven't watched either. I've heard, of course, and
them Klingons is hell on that boy.
I think a lot of this comes down to there's a bit of truth in both things here that we're talking about. There are some people out there, but I will explain this real quick here. There are some people out there who look at only the bad and do nothing but harp on the bad. This isn't canon. This isn't this. This isn't that. Harp. Why, Danny? Because it gets views. There are people out there that agree with those people, and whether or not they are sincerely believing what they say, it gets people to watch this stuff, and that's fun.
I don't want to insult or piss anybody off, but Star Wars fans are the worst.
Well, no, Star Trek fans are just as.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
You don't know Star Trek.
The Star Wars fans have gotten a lot of unfair stick because the media, the shill media, have painted them in a really bad picture. Recently, they started saying that Star Wars fans were, harassing Ahmed Best after Episode 1 because of Jar Jar Binks, and that they almost drove him to suicide and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Ahmed Best says something different. He said it was the media who did it because they were doing skits about Jar Jar constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And 1999 was before social media, so the fans couldn't even attack him.
I agree.
And the same thing with Jake Lloyd. And every time the Star Wars fans get bashed, the media basically lies and bring up that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars fans didn't bully Jake Lloyd. He was bullied at school.
Yeah.
That was what happened.
I'm not going when I make my comments. I'm not going on what anything I've seen on media. I'm going by what I've actually watched on YouTube, because there is a shit ton of people on YouTube that is crazy about Star Wars, in my opinion. Now,
but you have to understand that YouTube is an outlet, and those of us who are in it, and that includes me now that I'm monetized, that you do want content that brings people in. Now, I don't act that way. If I like something, I'm going to tell you I like it. I'm not going to jump on a bandwagon. There are parts of the new Star Wars trilogy I do like. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not as big for it as I'm nowhere near as much of a fan of it as I was the original trilogy and the prequels. And even the prequels I had issues with until the second one. I mean, I'm a total like no to the Phantom Menace. I mean, I still to this day, that's the least one I watch because it takes so much out of me to watch this kid horribly act. And everything sounds like it's being dumbed down for a child because they're talking to a child through most of the movie, and it drives me nuts. But you know, you're talking about the Attack of the Clones and the Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith is probably one of the best Star Wars movies ever.
Yeah, that one was awesome. You know, on that note, I remember last year when people were bashing Captain Marvel, right? Left and right, every channel seemed to do it, and every time I was on a panel, it was actually
I think that was more the actress than the actual character.
yeah, but they kept it advanced onto the movie and the character and all that, and they were saying she never smiles and she's, you know, the acting is bad, and I actually watched the movie before making a judgment on it. I didn't think it wasn't that bad.
No, it is.
It was not.
It's not.
It's not the baddest Marvel movie.
No, it isn't.
No, it was mediocre and predictable and boring, I guess. But it wasn't like the worst movie I've ever seen.
No.
And Brie Larson actually smiled quite a few times in it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was.
I think there was more Brie Larson haters than actual.
And that's the thing.
Captain Marvel haters.
But I'm not going to discount people who want to talk about that stuff and and if they want to play that hard line, and if that's what they really believe, great. But that's the thing here. I think Stig, you, me, we're like this. We're going to tell you exactly what we believe about it. We're not going to just tell you we don't like something because we're just trying to join a bandwagon.
I'll always back up everything I think is bad about something.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't referring to you or
no, I know you weren't. I know you weren't.
To be fair, I have bashed Star Wars quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's just
me like
when I think of fan, I hate one of the worst teams in the NFL, Washington Redskins, but I still cheer for them. But it's like Star Wars fans to me are quite fickle.
Yeah, well,
they don't like it, and they're like, oh yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I don't.
The problem started in 2015 when Disney scrapped the old expanded universe. Because Disney and George Lucas and everyone have always said that the people who supported the expanded universe is the reason Star Wars is alive now. Because those books and comics were selling like heck.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden Disney shows up and said, yeah, all that stuff you bought doesn't matter anymore. You know, we're wiping the slate clean. And when you do that, you need to replace it with something just as good or better.
Well, maybe the next phase of Disney, they'll go to the old Republican, and maybe I'm hoping that Dave Filoni and
John Favreau
will
I don't know.
They'll put the ship back on the right course.
They've already scrapped the old Republic, and given all the lore changes they've made, the old Republic won't make much sense now.
What direction would you suggest they go in? Because I don't know what
remove every damn thing they've released since 2015 from canon. Go back to the basics, to the old EU and the old trilogy, and follow the old EU. Because then you have a ton of cool characters. You have plot lines. You have different time periods. All of it is rock solid. But they won't
do something. I hope they do something.
Yeah, because what they're doing now isn't working.
No,
it's not.
They need to get, and I got a video out there about it. I see this backhanded move with the Iger move and all this that it seems to me kind of interesting that Iger and Kennedy have both agreed to step down at the end of next year, but they just put in this guy out of nowhere for the CEO, which I have no doubts is just for the short term. I'm wondering if they're not trying to get Kennedy into the CEO position.
God, I hope not.
I do too. I don't want that, but God knows Disney doesn't care what anybody thinks.
Maybe this new guy inject some new blood and ideas into the.
He's the theme park guy. He doesn't have any clue about the movie side of it. He watches the rides go around as long as they're oiled and greased right, as long as food cleanliness and all that fits right, they're fine.
He could be a fan though. You never know.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see where this goes, but I personally want to see Kennedy out and Favreau and Filoni in charge of it, and maybe with Kevin Feige in charge of it.
I've been watching Clone Wars, and George Lucas got his hands in that, and it's okay. It's not exceptional.
Well, but the thing is that
George was barely involved.
Yeah, he's barely involved anymore. But
so it's the first one that pops up when they say producer.
Yes,
he owns Lucasfilm.
Yeah, it's his baby. He started it, and Filoni and Favreau have done okay. Of all of the people involved in Star Wars right now, Filoni and Favreau are the best. Now, with that said, Stig will tell you they have also had many problems with the stories they tell.
Yeah, I actually saw a video, and it was an interview with Filoni from the season 5 of the Clone Wars, and he was bragging about how he had tricked George Lucas because he had added stuff to the story that he knew George wouldn't like. And when he showed George the episode, he said he had cut those bits out so that George would approve of the episode, and then he put it back in afterwards. He bragged about that on an interview on the Clone Wars bonus material for season 5.
That's crazy.
But yeah, they still get along better than him.
Well, yeah, but I don't know now though. But
he's
and I think Karen Travis, who was the writer who created the Mandalorian culture in the old Star Wars, she quit because of Filoni because he didn't follow those that lore, right? He just walked all over it, made his own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes back to it again in the Mandalorian show.
Mm-hmm.
The guy he's lazy. He just makes whatever he wants and just hopes it fits.
John Favreau can.
I think that they're the best option they've got right now until somebody
Favreau is.
Yeah,
Favreau took Iron Man, which is not a household name, and made it a household name.
Yeah, and he stuck to the comics.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't change Tony Stark at all, right?
No. All right, guys, we've been going for an hour and 15 minutes, basically. So we're going to wrap this up, guys. I thank you very much for your professional demeanor when disagreeing, because that's what I like, is to get your points out, say what you got to say, but be respectful of other people's points, because that's what we're about here at Chaos Central and the Real Review 3000. And Stig, as always, I really appreciate you coming on. You're a great guest. I love having you on. We'll be doing
when he asks.
Mm-hmm. We'll be doing another movie talk before too long, I'm pretty sure. Stig and I like doing those, so we've got an idea coming up here pretty soon. So,
Bloodlines, you went straight to stream. Do you know that?
We'll do what?
Bloodline. I mean,
Bloodshot.
Bloodshot.
Yeah, it went to a streaming service.
I might get out today.
That The Invisible Man. Yeah, I'm thinking about watching those here pretty soon too. So, Stig, anything else to add?
No, thank you for having me on. Thank you to both of you for being great company. Always enjoy talking to both of you, and I had a good time. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, one more time. Let's just tell everybody where they can find you guys. Go ahead, Danny.
Danny is my name. Comment Chat on YouTube is my channel. Comment Chats on Twitter. You can catch me on Monday nights on the Chaos Central Network with Chris and Sean, the Maz Mama Bear. Tomorrow night we'll be doing my show, which is the Khaotic Conversation. And you can catch me there on this evening at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time with my buddy Terrence on our show Equilibrium. And thanks for the invite, Chris.
Not a problem. As always, Steve, go ahead and tell them about yourself.
Tiny channel, nothing to.
He's a great Twitter personality, though. Go check him out on Twitter and find him, on Mary Mayhem's streams, on my streams. He's everywhere.
Yeah, Midnight's Edge, After Dark.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Sarcastic Nerds channel sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone goes sub to Miss. She's awesome.
Yes, she is. All right. With that said, guys, say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for checking us out. Be sure to subscribe to both channels and make sure to check out our friends in the Fandom Minutes. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and BitChute, and you can also send us an email at sean@seanstackhousereacts.com and chrisknight@therealreview3000.com. And be sure to swing by our Teespring store to pick up some awesome merchandise.